Hello folks, my name's Savannah. Ow, Captain! This is Captain, and you're watching Nerdy Cat 96. Thank you so much for joining us in the kitty corner, where people from all walks of life are welcome. Cat people, dog people, fat people, frog people, pretty much everyone. Today we are discussing Through the Dark by Alexandra Bracken, which, if you don't know, is a bind-up of 3 of her novellas based on the Darkest Minds trilogy. If you haven't read the Darkest Minds trilogy, I would suggest going and reading it, and then reading this bind-up of novellas, like, right after, or you could read, like, the first one after the first book, because they are written in that order. They don't really follow any of the main characters from the original trilogy. The first novella is called In Time. It follows a man who wants to be a skip tracer to earn money. Not because he actually wants to, but just as a means to survive in this horrible economy that has been created in the world of the Darkest Minds. The second novella follows Sam and Lucas. And Sam is Ruby's best friend from camp, and Lucas is a boy that she grew up living next door to. And then the third novella follows Sam again, and Lucas's sister Mia. So if you haven't read these novellas yet, I would suggest leaving and reading them, and then you can come back and I can talk about them with you. So we'll start off with In Time, which was probably the most difficult of the 3 for me to get into because it is told from the point of view of a skip tracer. Yeah, if you haven't read In Time, please leave now. So it was really upsetting to me that Gabe, the skip tracer main character, every time he restrained Zoo, she was able to, like, easily get out of her restraints, and she could have run away pretty easily, but she chose not to, and she stayed and, like, did nice things and kind of tried to show Gabe that these Psy kids are people too. And every single time she did that, he would just get mad and think that she was, like, making fun of him, and he would just be meaner to her, and that, like, I was literally just like, F you, Gabe. Like, I did not like that it took so long for him to realize that what he was doing was, like, extremely wrong. So that was just, like, really upsetting that he kept trying to not see them as people. So I think I did like the fact that Alex wrote this from this point of view to kind of show, like, why people did such horrible things. People were taught to see them as, like, lesser beings and as, like, subhuman. It just is a good example of, I guess, the things that people tell themselves to make them believe that treating other people that way is okay. But it was still really hard to read, and Gabe was a very frustrating character at first. One of the things that I was somewhat concerned about, I didn't know if, like, Gabe was fully redeemed in my mind. He does help Azu and Bryson once they reach the Phoenix drop-off for Psy kids, but if those other skip tracers hadn't been there reporting him at the first place that he was going to take her, like, would he have helped them, or would he have just gone ahead and turned her in? It's hard to say, because, like, luckily those skip tracers were there to, like, scare him off. Otherwise he was gonna go and fill out an application. And then I was very glad to be able to meet Liam's mom at the end. That was so cool. I was crying. You know, it was nice that she said all those nice things to Gabe and made him feel, like, proud of himself again, because he hadn't had someone tell him that he was doing a great thing or whatever in such a long time. He just felt like mediocre, and so he really, I guess the whole time, just kind of wanted to make something of himself, and that was pretty cool. Bless you! You know, that he did like one good deed before he was killed. So now we can move on to Spark's Rise. I definitely thought it was easier to get into this story. I'm always a sucker for a little romance, so made it a little quicker of a read for me, I think. I thought it was really cool to be able to see inside Sam's head because, you know, we heard a little bit about Sam in the trilogy and that Ruby, like, took her memories and stuff, and we got to see her, like, wondering where this gap in her memory was because she was like, I'm a green, like, I remember everything, I'm super smart, I have a photographic memory. I would not have been able to just forget a whole person. But then she was worried that, like, this is what happens when you use your abilities, because that's what the PSFs kept telling them. I really loved Lucas's character and how he told them stories and he wrote them down and he just like brought his imagination so much to life that he was able to like preserve his mind through all of the horrible like training that he had to go through as a Red. So having forgotten pretty much all of like the major stuff that happened in the trilogy, I did not remember whether Sam had still been in the camps or not in the Afterlight. So I had no idea what was coming at the end of this novella. I was really excited that they were planning to escape and everything, and then he was getting her out of there, and I thought it was going to be so cute. They were going to go like find his sister together and everything, and then the end. He got caught like pretty much right away, and he went back to training, and he like just retreated way too far inside of himself that time, and oh my god, I was so sad. I was crying, and I was also really angry. I was very concerned at first that that was going to be the end, but yes, luckily I did continue, and I read the last novella, and that made things quite a bit better. So, now I'm going to be discussing Beyond the Night. So if you have not read that novella, then please turn off the video now. So the first couple of pages were pretty obviously, though it wasn't stated outright, from Lucas's point of view. After reading that, I was like, oh, thank God, there is hope after all. So I was immediately like not wanting to like murder the author anymore, so that's a good thing. Yeah! And then we get to meet Mia, who, she's pretty cool, especially now. At first she was kind of being a brat to Sam, and I thought that was annoying, although she did not get the insight into what Sam had to go through, so I do have to give her that. I did get that insight, and so it wouldn't be fair to judge her harshly, but she was kind of being a brat at first. But she did definitely turn around, and I liked her a lot afterwards. For some reason, I was not expecting to see the gang at all at the end, so it was really cool to get to see them again. I felt like we were kind of back in like the original story, and I flew through the last section of this novella because it's always exciting to see the characters that you fell in love with. And that might have also been part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it as much as I like enjoyed the original trilogy. It was really exciting to kind of be on a road trip with them again, and we got to see Liam and Ruby and Chubbs and Vita, so that was fun. Oh, but I was also so excited that they arrived because the entire time in the novella when they're like trying to protect Lucas, and they're just like, oh, I don't know, like there's probably nothing that we can do to get him back to his normal self. He's probably just gonna be like this forever. I was like, I wonder if Ruby could do something. Like, I hope we get to see Ruby. I hope that Ruby can help fix it because Ruby would probably be so good at that. And then Ruby showed up, so that was pretty cool. I'm so happy that they found the notebooks and they read those cute little stories. They were able to transform him back into the prince, and so that was really sweet. And I am really glad that I read all of these. The whole time I was just kind of like, man, this is depressing, like how their government is and everything, and I don't want to be like reading this anymore because I'm so depressed about these poor kids and what they have to go through. The last couple pages told from Lucas's point of view was really cool. We saw that Ruby and Lucas together went around and like freed the minds of the other Reds who were still alive and kind of brought them back to themselves. We were totally able to keep Cole's legacy alive, and those poor kids don't have to suffer anymore. I thought that was like a really good little like conclusion novella to like the whole series. Well, anyway, that is all that I had to say about this bind up for those 3 novellas. So thank you so much for watching. I make videos every Wednesday. If you want to follow me on any of my social medias, I'll leave the links in the description. Hopefully the cats and I will see you next week. Goodbye!